Let's talk about Mr. Sunak first. The Prime Minister, should he resign after losing control of his party last night? Dozens of his own MPs rebelled over the Rwanda bill. So call us 0207 862 2222. Some 60 Conservative MPs voted in favour of amendments to the government's Rwanda bill, arguing the current plans don't go far enough. Lee Anderson and Brendan Clark-Smith were among the rebels, and they resigned from their roles as deputy chairman of the party. The rebellion has been described as a blow from the Prime Minister, with papers like The Mail says, now will 60 Tory MPs sink PM's boat bill tonight? So that's pointing towards this evening. That's the key vote. We expect Sunak's bill to pass because at that point Labour come in and the whole rhythm changes. But at least 14 Tories are likely to vote against it. So is he sunk, Ayesha, here? Should he just go?
Well, look, in an ideal world, he would, but he's not going to do that because he's digging in and, you know, he's Prime Minister and he wants to stay being Prime Minister. I think what this just shows is that he has so lost his way. What I think is fascinating is if you take a step back, this was not his idea, Rwanda, and we know that there have been documents and reports that actually he had great anxieties about the Rwanda scheme when it was first presented to him when he was Chancellor, probably because of the spiralling kind of costs. He's now inherited this policy and he could have junked it. He junked HS2. He changed the timetable of net zero. So it's not that he's stuck with everything he inherited. But he has not only persisted with this complete bonkers policy, and when the Supreme Court made their ruling a couple of months ago, he could have used that as the opportunity to say, look, we're just going to put this on hold for a bit. We're just going to revisit it. We're still going to concentrate. The Albania deals worked really well. We had good return to that. But no. He ploughed on.
Double down.
He's made this like the ultimate litmus test for himself. And remember, in his 5 pledges, he didn't just say reduce the boats. He said stop.
Yeah, but just so people are clear, the vote last night, the rebellion, was Tories wanting it to be tougher. Tonight's bill, he'll pass it, I'm sure, because at that point, all the Conservatives say what we've got is better than nothing, and Labour want them to scrap it, so it changes. But is it not tough enough, Tim? Is that the issue?
The issue is the Tories' Brexit probably wouldn't have happened if the Conservatives weren't basically promising immigration control. The 2015 election was probably won by the Tories because of immigration. We have kept, over our 14 years in office, promising the British people that we would control immigration. Ayesha probably has a slightly different view to me on immigration, but if you're a political party that keeps making a promise and fails again and again to do it, this isn't one promise broken on the edges of one election. We've had a very long time to sort this, and we haven't sorted it. And
the Conservatives.
Yeah, we the Where I feel sort of slightly sorry for Rishi Sunak, although Ayesha's take on his tactics was fair, was that he is coming in at the end of this government, and Tory MPs are getting angry with him for not sorting out a complicated problem immediately. The real blame lies with people like Boris Johnson, who introduced a very liberal immigration. And so to hear him yesterday attacking Rishi Sunak for not getting a grip on this is a bit rich, to say the least. But
is this the moment we talked earlier, about the wheels falling off the government? Is that basically he's sitting in the driving seat, he's pulling all the levers, none of them work. He looks behind him, there's a wheel missing, there's a back door missing. It's gone.
Absolutely. I mean, it feels that we're at the point where it's just so disastrous. Everything he does is a disaster now. And even small things will get amplified as the signal of that being a disaster. Remember, his party didn't want him. He lost to Liz Truss. He's never faced the British public. Every by-election he's losing. He's going to get rinsed at the local elections coming up in May. He's got another 2 by-elections, which undoubtedly the Conservatives will lose. This guy is just on borrowed time now. If he was, you know what? I mean, he's not going to do this because no Prime Minister wants to leave Downing Street before they need to. This government is so out of steam now, he should just call a general election. If he cared about the country, what I think is really worrying a lot of people is, let's say he pushes this election till November. He could, by the way, he said he wouldn't. The latest day on which you can have an election is the 28th of January 2025.
We can have a year more in office.
But what I think is really bad for the country is we all know the Tories are going to lose.
Yeah.
They should give up. It's not good for the country. It's not good for investment. It's not good for business. It's not good for our citizens. He should do the right thing and call it.
Well, I saw people, people tweeting last night saying there are ways they can win it still. Douglas in Edinburgh, has this shown Sunak has lost control of his own party?
He's not just lost control of it. He doesn't know what they're doing. He doesn't want to know what they're doing. Take David Cameron, for instance, an absolute fool of a man who's cost the country £5 billion over Greensill, who's assisted the Chinese in buying into the British economy, who's presided. He's actually his last statement that I heard on television, which was disgusting, when he was talking about the carry-on over in with Israel. He said, "I don't know what a foreign crime, a crime against humanity stands for, but I wish they'd put the water back on for the Palestinians."
Yeah.
And that's our Foreign Secretary.
Well, he's treading carefully there. He's treading carefully, isn't he?
It's a crime against humanity to put the water off in the first place, and that imbecile didn't realise it.
So, okay, Cameron is flawed, you say. Is Sunak finished?
Of course.
But then does he not have to do the thing? And I don't know who the general, was it El Cid, who was brought into battle dead? They just propped him on top of, they put him on a horse and they stuck a wooden board behind him and they just hit the horse. And it looked like, are we in that territory, Douglas? Even though he's politically dead, he needs to keep going.
Why?
Well, because Ayesha's helpful idea. Ayesha says, oh, Tories have an election now, it'll go really well for you. No, it won't. He's got to hope something happens to Labour, hasn't he?
Got to wait for better weather whilst he's running the country to the ground.
That's it. Well, Tim, is that fair? That they just got to wait and hope something bad happens to Starmer?
That is the tactic. And what hasn't happened yet is Labour haven't been properly examined. And what the Tories hold on to, it's not a theory I buy into, but was in the 1992 election. We're going back through all the parliaments
I love
today.
This.
Was the Tories ran a campaign, they had this big bombshell all over the country, and what were them, the billboards, and said you'd pay £1,250 more tax under Labour. And all the opinion polls said that people wanted to vote more, pay more tax for the public services. Norman Lamont, then the Chancellor, said, no, they don't. They never tell the truth about this. And the party attached a price tag to Labour. And the £28 billion that Labour wants to spend on green policies is the one last hope that the Conservatives have, that if they run that kind of campaign against Labour, they won't probably win the next election, but the kind of losses that they're currently projected
But Labour's
to
already
suffer.
watered that policy down, and I saw they'd watered something down on transgender. They're getting rid of all the dangerous
Labour,
policies.
understandably, is trying to neutralise any sort of potential kind of attack areas, which I know some people on the left are very cross about that. But if Labour's serious about winning, and you know, you did the thing about the Labour government 100 years ago, there's not been that many Labour governments. The Tories are sort of very hardwired into winning elections. But I'm afraid the writing's on the wall. You've got a situation, he's fighting on so many fronts. He's got a huge rump of his own Conservative parliamentary party against him.
You notice how immediately Ayesha changes to talking about the Conservative. That's what Labour...
He's got... Hang on a minute, we're talking about Rishi Sunak.
We need to go to our break, but carry on.
Defend Labour's policies.
He's got... the party didn't vote for him.
Yeah.
The public is furious about the state of Britain. He's got Reform now snapping at his heels, and they could do significant damage to the Tory party. The Labour Party... So listen, look, the Labour Party has still got, work to do, but my goodness, the country is so ready for a change.
Let's talk about this. Is Rishi Sunak, is the vote last night actually much bigger than it seems? The guy's finished. Is that what it means? 0207 862 2222. And he's either going to go into battle on his horse with a wooden board behind him, or he's got to leave and let another Conservative take over and quickly try and catch up. What do you think? Give us a call. We'll see you shortly. Hello. Ayesha and Tim are with us this morning. Later we'll be asking if the world will be safer if Donald Trump returned to the White House. Every day it seems to get closer. President Trump / Mark II. Now your calls on whether Rishi Sunak should resign because he's messed it up and botched it up and it's a disaster. Kathleen is in the West Midlands. He had this big rebellion last night. He can probably get over it, but do you think he's holed below the waterline now, Kathleen?
He is. he should resign, but at this present time, we haven't got anybody that could take his place at this present time.
Well, Tim will be the expert on this. Let's go to Tim, because Tim, who would you put in place?
Well, in the break...
Hang on, Kathleen. Let's get... Tim knows this stuff.
David Cameron would be popular with our first caller from Scotland, but if David Cameron was in the Commons now, hadn't left the Commons, I am sure he would be replaced.
OK.
Because he's got the authority, reasonable public ratings compared to Rishi Sunak, and, you know, I think he would reassure people in the sort of...
But he's not in the Commons. This is an emergency.
It can't happen, but he would be if he...
Who would you go for, Kathleen?
Well, I think I would have perhaps go... I'm just saying I may go for David Cameron because he has had experience. He has been Prime Minister.
We've had to rule him out because he's not in the Commons.
No, he's not. No. He's Lord Cameron. But also, the fact is, this matter was done by the Supreme Court. And I believe, you know, they said no. Also, we are still sending money to Rwanda. And as I say, people have not gone. And we're still sending our money, which could come into our country, which would help with our national health, with our roads.
I don't know how much we paid. I heard 200 million. No one's gone.
Yeah, but even so.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. But we're looking for a replacement. I mean, Ayesha, give us your bet.
Well, I actually mentioned David Cameron to Tim in the break. Look, it's really difficult to see. There's a couple of people who are kind of on the sidelines. Kemi Badenoch is talked about very...
Suella.
Yeah, I think the
Suella's
party
not a serious candidate.
James Cleverly is seen as somebody who's... But the other person who's interesting, who's really popped up recently, he's had a bit of a weight loss, he's had a new haircut, he's been making lots of speeches.
Go on.
Robert Jenrick has been sort of doing a lot of...
Robert Jenrick?
Well, he's, you know, I think he's, you know, I think it's slightly bonkers, but he is, it is interesting. I think he's sort of on manoeuvre.
Jeremy, I'm going to whisper this so no one else can hear it.
Yeah.
Advice from Ayesha about who might be the next Tory leader might not necessarily be in the best interest of the Conservatives.
I thought you'd go Johnny... I'll tell you something. Felicity Mercer watches this programme, Johnny Mercer's wife.
Oh, she's feisty.
And she knows, because she'll be watching intently, that we've had viewers ring up and say it's time for Johnny. That Johnny Mercer is the one who can properly take them over the top. Kathleen, you don't think so. Janet in the West Midlands, hi.
Hi, all right.
Hello. Well, we're already planning for life beyond Rishi, so...
Poor Rishi.
But he's not dead yet, is he?
No, I'll do with Johnny Mercer, though.
You'd be happy with it. There you go. Yeah, there we go. Well, do you think it's over for him, or are we blowing this up?
No, it's definitely over for him. We all hate. Nobody wants. We didn't vote for Rishi. Twitter hates Twitter. Twitter is just, every petition is about Rishi Sunak. We're all signing that many petitions. He has just killed the country. He has brought that many bad policies in. The Rwanda, spending money on all the wars and not providing for our own. And the XL bully ban. I mean, everybody who's got an XL bully dog will not vote for him.
They've sent them all to Scotland.
He's had it.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I feel like Basil Fawlty when the hotel inspector comes around and he says, apart from that, everything all right? Because you've gone through a long list there, Janet, my goodness.
Yeah, he's had it.
He's had it.
On Twitter, nobody likes him. We want him out. We want a fresh start.
Nobody on Twitter likes anybody.
Don't, Janet, you've got to come off Twitter. It's not good for you.
Good for you, Janet.
Thank you, Janet. Christine in the West, a lot of West Midlands today, my goodness. Hello, Christine.
Hello, Jeremy. Hello, panel.
So,
hello.
Give us your thoughts on the politics of this, Christine.
Well, I don't say that Rishi should go. I know everybody else is saying it, but he's not gone yet. But I think he should get back around the table with everybody and scrap this Rwanda plan completely.
Oh, it's not working?
Get rid of it. No, it's not working.
What would you do about the small boats then?
Well, I think the money that the future money that he would have put into this Rwanda plan, because he would have kept going and going with it. I think he should get with France, and they should together put money in to stop the actual boats, to stop the people that are actually running this scheme, because it's treacherous waters. People are dying. It's the winter now. So I think it's they've got to target the men that are making all the boats. And,
they've tried. I think they've tried all that. I don't know whether the French are, let's just put it gently, letting us down at their end and saying basically everyone who wants to come to Britain this way, because that's the suspicion.
Well, I know that's the
isn't
sort
it?
of suspicion. I'm not sure if that's entirely.
Well, it suits them down to the ground.
Well, I don't know. I think that's a bit of a lazy thing. I think one thing that could be done is much more kind of cooperation. Because actually, to be fair to the government, the deal they did with Albania has actually had some results. The way you solve this is a lot of intense working with the other country. What they should do, what France has offered, is for us to open up a proper processing centre in northern France, which kind of makes sense.
But they want us back in the EU, do they? Or I don't know.
No, it's
by the way, you mentioned Robert Jenrick, and he's had a glow up to become. That's the glow up?
I mean, remember, the maxim for this being that politics is showbiz for ugly people, OK? So that's like kind of...
If it looks at the criteria, when Johnny Mercer first became an MP, he rang me once and said, this thing's about to come out and I'm a bit worried about it. And I said, what was it? He said, well, I was in a Head and Shoulders advert when I was younger. And you know when you see those old adverts, muscular shoulders, you don't see his face, but it was a very good body. I said, Johnny, you can relax about this. This won't be a problem.
All right, we might try and find that. We'll move on now. After the break, would the world be...